Hello, everyone. Welcome to All In on Real Estate. I'm your host, Aaron Goins. I started this meetup because when I was in the military, no one in my circle talked about real estate. A lot of times we talked about debt and other things like that. But I want to start a meetup to talk about real estate and for people to learn about real estate and different niches in real estate and build generational wealth for them and their family. So I'm really, really excited today for our guest speaker, Mr. Fred Jacquet. How you doing, sir?
Hey, how's it going, Aaron?
Good, man. Good. I met Fred a while back, and he's been on the clubhouse room, consistently. He's been on this meetup, so I'm really excited to have him as a guest speaker and really get a story and talk about his journey from the military to what he's doing right now. So let me get started right away by asking this first question. I like to ask everybody, man, what is your origin story into real estate?
Let's see. Origin story. So, all right. So it's a little hot on this side. So I think I mentioned it earlier, but if you see me go down, definitely don't worry about it. Keep the project, keep the show moving, and I'll call 911 on this side. So let's see. I'm first generation American. My parents are from Haiti. I did a stint in the Marine Corps. I was a Marine Corps veteran. Did a quick tour out in Iraq. Did a stint in financial services, aerospace, physical therapy, and tried to dabble in a little bit of entrepreneurship. My origin story. So I think it kind of built up over time. So for the most part, I was following the American plan, right? So the American dream. So I go to school, go to the next school, start getting a job, and continue to work until work hard, put your head down, and try to go climb up the ladder. But at some point, I went to I went to grad school after I got back from Iraq. I went to grad school, and while I was there, I started to learn about entrepreneurship. So that was one key thing I started to notice, because we had the ability to dictate what our end concentration is going to be by taking different classes. And I find myself going through the entrepreneurship classes. But I graduated grad school, went to aerospace, and continue to do what I was supposed to do. Right, I worked hard, and pretty much about 5 years, I just kept going. And at some point, probably 5 years later, we started looking at the amount of effort going through the daily grind, and we realized we needed to do something, or we'd be continually working until what they call retirement. We started budgeting, looked at the numbers, and we realized we had to do something different. My wife started a physical therapy practice. We started, doing more budgeting and trying to figure out what we need to do in order to allow for even opportunity to retire. And while we were doing that, we on Facebook, one of those 3-day courses came up. We thought it was about business development, and it was one of the Damon John's courses. So the creator of FUBU. And so we thought, okay, why not? If we're doing something different, maybe we have to pay for education, maybe we have to try something different. It was free, so maybe we weren't paying. We're still too cheap, but we saw the opportunity to start feeding more information into our heads. So we went to the program. It was a 3-day program, and lo and behold, it was actually a wholesale program, at least part of it. So it ended up being Hopkins wholesaling course. So we went there, we're like, what is he talking about? He's kind of speaking all about wholesaling and how you get contractors to walk through the building to give you quotes, and how do you do off-market marketing, and it's pretty foreign to us. But I was taking notes, and I did up my credit card limit. At the end of these shows, they walk you to the back, you increase your limit so you can make sure you can pay for it. But I upped it because it made sense. I didn't. Those folks who went to the back of the room and paid $20,000 for the follow-on course, but we went to the back and we kept going out. So we finished the course, and I was training for the Marine Corps Marathon at that point. So I know what he said about circling the neighborhood and capturing addresses of people who may need who have some signs of distress with the property, and I send a couple of communications out. I sent a letter, sent a card, and at some point I got a call back. This didn't happen in sequence because along the way, while we were looking, I was selling my parents and my family into Connecticut, and they weren't excited about where we were going. So I had to go find my own house. But once I got back in, I started sending cards and letters, and I got calls back saying, hey, it was a group of 8 siblings. They all had teenage to adult kids. Their parents had passed 5 years before, and they said they were actually interested in selling. They got my card. They got another card from somewhere else, but they said if y'all wanted to walk through, I can walk through. So I went through, and I still had the wholesale material. I thought, I can step through it. I walked through the property. It just had everything in it. It's like wheelchairs and this and that. Like 30 years of stuff and leaks, and they had a knotweed in the backyard. So it was everything was overgrown. But I said, you know what? Let me try to follow it. Went through. I think 2 days later, I gave my offer. After having a contractor that I've done work with walk through and give me what made sense, I gave them my offer, and they said, okay. Again, I thought I'd be a wholesaler, so I took that, I didn't have a buyer's list, so I reached out to whoever I knew on Facebook and said, hey, this is where I see the opportunity. I'm an engineer by education, and I'm data driven, so I kind of looked at what the after repair value would be. So I kind of understood some of the framework, and I was a data junkie. So went through and said, you know what, this makes sense that after I'm finished, it should be worth this much. So if I can buy it for this much, I understood the 70% rule. If I can get it for the price that's below that, then I have opportunity to wholesale it to a buyer, a flipper, and then they take it and do their business at that point. At least that's what I understood at that point. I sent it out and got some responses, and they said, it didn't seem right. The repair budget didn't seem right. And, I think I was pretty confident in my numbers. So I pretty much threw it out there saying, if anyone wants it, then let me know. But if no one responded within 14 days, I'm going to start. There's kind of a couple people walked through. Some people tried to co-wholesale, but in the end, no one got to the number I wanted. So I went from becoming a wholesaler to now a burr investor. So I got my contractor in there. 7 dumpsters later, 3 contractors later. I had to call my attorney on one of the contractors. What else? Had leaks. I got the experience. I think that's what everyone says. But the good thing is, and I don't want to get the experience, but in the end, it paid off. Like I still was able to refinance out, cover the cost. And the only thing, maybe I had a 10,000 still in the deal, but for the most part, I went through the process, and it took 11 months. I refinanced just in the nick of time to pay the hard money lender back, and then all of a sudden I'm a real estate investor. It was a good journey because I was able to stay pretty close to the sellers. I got to know them, sent them cards. In the end, I showed them what I did to the place. So that was the origin story, and pretty much by the end of that year, I already had a couple more that I had found the following year. I had a 3-family I picked up, and then there's this the snowball effect, right? Once you get in, I caught the bug, and I kept looking the same way. I was running 50 to 60 miles a week, so it left me with a pretty hefty list to go and now go market to. And that's the origin. And the wife's just the family's understanding it. They walk through the houses, and it's become a bit of a family affair.
So how long ago was that?
This was so I took the course in 2017, and I was ready to go, but I think we had to get the family settled, so I stopped, bought my own home in end of 2017, and 2018, the beginning, I started, and within that, between that year and the year after, we'd done like 5 or 6.
So what was some of your early takeaways, some of your early learning moments during the process?
I think everything. It was such a paradigm shift. I was like, wait a minute, why is everyone holding this? Why is everyone holding this information hostage? Even the concept of wholesaling. Everyone knows an agent. You go to an agent, you want to buy or sell a house, you go to them, and they facilitate the whole process and get you to the end. And it makes sense. But before you had agents, you had people bartering with each other. and deciding on negotiating on a price and taking that price and then and having that exchange. So now to go back to, I was like, wait, this makes perfect sense. Why, just because we've been following this set process, we're following the person, the person ahead of you, you kind of miss out on how people generate revenue, right? Then you realize what work is. You realize you realize what taxes are, because you truly have the ability to affect it and impact. So I think everything was pretty damn new to me. So it's everything from, if I go specifics, it's understanding that whole bartering system, taxes, having your team of agents, the attorney, contractors, how important it is to build those relationships, how important it is to talk about what you're doing, because that's how I found the follow-on properties. So it was a mix of so many things, but it's really just the communication piece and the learning. I think those are the two things that allowed me to continue to find things and continue to find ways of not only benefiting, but helping other people along the way.
So, I mean, it's not the first time you have said that with helping it. What has been the most impactful part of this whole process for you?
Impactful. I think what it has shown me is that there's an opportunity to work harder and create a lifestyle. Right before, I just felt like I was I still feel I'm on the treadmill, right? So you have a job, you're comfortable in your W-2, and somehow it ends, and it ends positive, right? Before this, it just ends positively, but nothing. I don't think anyone truly, if you're following the path, you don't truly understand how you get there. You're like, oh, one day I'm going to retire, and then I'm going to have money that keeps me going. But what this showed me is that, if I'm going to do this, there's opportunity out there, but it's going to require that I do the work, but I need to have more control over that. It's not just work harder and potentially get a raise at the end of the year. It's like, I think with the first two deals, I already matched my annual salary. So with in equity, obviously I didn't have the cash, but in equity, just because of how I was buying, you saw the opportunity there. And so, what, if I did this more, there's definitely an opportunity for me to create that environment that I was looking for. I'd say that was really the fact that I have a lot more control over the kind of the lifestyle I want to create.
So, and you was you at the early part of it, you still active duty during the time frame?
No, so I had gotten out in 06, so 06, and then I went to grad school in 2009. So this was, after that. So I kicked off my journey in 2017. So by then I kind of seen that I was pretty, everything building along the way, I got pretty comfortable with chaos, right? Right. So you get pretty used to operating in an environment where things aren't necessarily set, but you have process and you follow the process. So I think it gave me a bit of comfort in the environment I was working in, even though, things weren't going great, but I was able to step back, see what needed to happen, whether it's breaking down my milestone plan with the contractor, sitting there and talking to them, or calling my attorney if I needed my material back from a contract that I'm no longer working with. It wasn't great, but I was able to step through that, with a cool head and get through it.
So anything that you took from your military service to real estate in the early part of it?
I'd say it's really that tactical execution. There was, we all, it was always a focus on doing things and getting that muscle memory. And that would help with my marketing, right? So, it was monotonous, but I go around, get the addresses, trying to figure out, who I need to market to, create a list, repeat the marketing. Like I didn't have the system, so I had to do everything on Excel or in some other system. But I think that tactical execution I was pretty comfortable with that. If we needed to get it done, it was okay, regardless of how boring or whatever it was. This is what needed to happen. And then you know, everyone was part of the team, so it's working as a team. That was pretty normal. To this day, I think I sent my contractor, his son just got married, and I was like, all right, well, let me send the gift to, for them to for the new couple. It's just everyone is part of the team as long as they're part of the team. So that was I think that's definitely from the Marine Corps.
Cool. Cool. So moving forward, going along your journey, what has that experience, from your latter part to now, where you at now? What are some of the more takeaways that you have done as you gain more and more experience in your field, in your niche of real estate?
Say the key thing is because I remember how almost like disappointed I was with not knowing. I kind of tell everyone, right? So, buddies that I meet up, I just went back for a reunion, and I tell them, like, this is what I see as the power of real estate. And not only that, I actually pulled a couple of buddies from grad school and say, we have an opportunity where we can impact a community in Pittsburgh. Like, that's the initiative we're trying out there, is actually to see if we can acquire. Same thing, we get discounted properties, renovate them, hold them as a long-term rentals, but then maybe we offer the opportunity for home ownership. Right? It's some of these communities, sometimes home ownership and that stability is what allows the community to grow. So what we're seeing where there's opportunity to either lease option, or maybe if we eventually own it, we sell or finance, just to be able to offer that opportunity. So, obviously there's some balance between profitability and maximizing profitability. So we just have to make sure that everyone's goes in understanding that, we may not maximize profitability, but it's because we're also trying to impact the community. So I think that's probably the big thing. Once I realized the power of it, I started telling people, and then reaching out for folks who could potentially help to build this up. Maybe use it to do well, and maybe control some of the changes within the communities.
So what has, for you, social media has helped you in your business? I know, like I said, we on Clubhouse a lot together, but has any social media been a great benefit for you and your business?
I'd say that I probably don't do that as much. I say what the social media I do is probably more to log the journey, right? So, I do get on Clubhouse and other things, but I'm juggling so many things that sometimes I'm not necessarily on, and it may not be on because I'm juggling something else, or just because it's a good platform. I definitely want to share with as many people as possible, but it just, I think a lot of what I do is to share, but it's probably part of it's to just, like, for me to know what I'm doing over time. So I don't think I've maximized what social media could do. Hopefully over time, there's an opportunity there. But I'd say right now, I haven't really fully used social media to propel forward. Like, I see there's opportunity to.
Okay. Fair enough. All right. So, man, so where do you want to see yourself in the next 5 years?
See, 5 years, that's just pretty soon. I know one thing. So we are from New York, but we live in Connecticut. I think we were looking for some place with more milder winters. So we're trying to figure out, we have 2 girls, one's 6 and one's 9, and we're trying to figure out what we want to do. But right now, we're building here. We're picking up a space for my wife's physical therapy practice. Continue to build a portfolio here. Actually moving into the short-term rental space. So I'm converting a few new units to that. So I think it's really just building up a system to allow us to cash flow. We will obviously also using retirement funds. So we're kind of working on what happens after retirement and kind of building that up. But now it's really, what do we do in the next 5 years, and where do we want to be? And I think it'll still be building portfolio out in Pittsburgh, working on short-term rentals here in Connecticut, and building my wife's physical therapy practice. I think those are probably where we're going to spend a lot of our energy.
Maybe one in your bookshop.
Okay, cool. Okay, so as we're wrapping up I have some questions before I open for attendees to ask you. Um, is there any takeaways that you would like to tell people, something you may learn that others should know before getting into maybe the next year, get into real estate or just real estate overall?
I say it's been forgiving. So I think there's regardless of when you buy, it seems like if you buy right, I know people say buy right, but it's really just it's being able to understand your numbers, being able to understand what a good deal is. So I guess you know what. I'm gonna go back and say I think the biggest thing that I did right starting off is going to a wholesale course. Right? I say that because of how I started. Like I wouldn't know what a good deal was if I didn't have that foundation. Like this is how you comp. Like if I'm doing a comparable analysis of what is the property of this with these characteristics, what should that cost in this market? They gave me a flavor of what that means. Okay, now if I take that and say a basic loan will allow this particular loan to value, then okay, I got that. And now this is what I'm buying for. I didn't know that before, so I could potentially have stepped into what I call real estate investing and kind of missed the whole boat, right? I would have given up because my numbers were up. I didn't know what a good outcome would have been. So I would have bought something and then prayed. Like this allowed me to step in a position where I went in with equity, right? So I mean, I came out with equity. So I think that is probably the big piece. Get some education, and for me, it was that wholesaling course. It's education for me.
Yeah, so I mean, so let's expand on that just a little bit further about education. What did you do for education? I mean, was you just locked in, just reading about your niche, or was you just learning as you went along?
So I was learning as I went on, so that gave me the foundation to even think. It gave me the foundation just to understand what I needed to understand. And along the way, I was consuming massive amounts of podcasts, whether it's Bigger Pockets or pretty much any podcast on real estate investing. I was working and it was in the background, and it was kind of just feeding me different concepts, right? Maybe I wasn't fully attentive the entire time, but it told me, it gave me the nuggets. Like I needed to collect the dots before I could connect them, right? So it gave me so many different dots to now process and say, okay, this is what the different avenues of investing look like. And then I could step back and say, okay, this is what I like doing. This is how I started. Now, this is similar in this way, this is similar in this way, but if I wanted to be passive, okay, I invested in the syndication, but I invested now because I understood some of the concepts of what happens when someone comes up and said this is their deal. I was able to piece that together because it's similar to the bird investing model. So I think it was kind of getting those. What else in terms of education books? What else? I have paid for education, like the short-term rental. I went through a course because now I understood that there's a lot I needed to know. So going through that, so I wasn't afraid to pay for courses. Like I potentially, knowing what I know now, I don't know if I would have paid 20,000, but I would have paid to kickstart it earlier on and faster. But before, early on, it didn't seem right. So something didn't seem right about going back to the back of the room and acting, paying 20,000 to act on what the guy said. So I think that now I get it.
What's up? That's what's up. I think that's excellent, man. I mean, so one more question about that. So would you say like educate like yourself, like as far as something free first, or would you pay for something as far as education wise?
Well, for me, I needed some breadcrumbs, right? I needed to understand something. So there's probably an element of get some exposure. I don't know if it's paid, but you need exposure. I needed exposure to know what's possible. So that gave me the data. Like going through that step, it it explained to me how that could work. And then that opened my eyes. Like before that, I was, I don't know what I was thinking at that point. I thought I'd do well. Obviously, I was working and doing well in the areas I was working in, but I didn't know how to get to where I wanted to go. I just kind of hoped that at some point I'd get there. But this gave me there is some. I'd say you need some exposure, and whether it's a course, whether it's training, whether it's some a mastermind, like before you step in, you just need to know what you're stepping into. And I think that if you feel you need to pay for it and it'll propel you forward a lot faster, then do that. If you can find something else, then do that if it works for you. Everyone's personality is a little different.
Okay. So I'm going to lead us over to the attendees ask questions. I know Brendan has a question right away. He said, give us a marketing tip that you have.
Marketing tip. So what I did is, again, like I said, I was running my neighborhood. So for the most part, my properties are all within 2 miles of where I live. I do have one that's a little further out because I found it from the natural gas provider. He came in there to do an inspection and he just happened on properties. But for the most part, they're all within the neighborhood. So the one key thing is, if you know your neighborhood, explore your neighborhood. Even if you get lost in it, explore it and see what properties exist there. One thing you could do, you can find the average median price of a type of property in your area. And if you know what that is, you can work backwards and say, okay, this is the average median price. If I take 75% of that, maybe subtract what a typical renovation would be, and you go to an agent, someone you can work with, and say, okay, I want all properties that with these particular features, and send them to me. So you'll get the properties that fit your criteria. So that's been helpful. So as soon as I get one of those automated emails from my agent, he gets a call from me and is like, all right, yeah, got it. I'll book it to see next, the next day. So that's been pretty helpful. But for the most part, my market has been off market. So once I have the address, I skip trace, find out who owns the property, and then the easiest thing for me to do, because I have the W-2, is send a postcard. I moved between softwares, but right now I've just been using PropStream. It's easy enough to find the owner of the property, send a postcard out, and put it on a steady drip. Before that, I had an Excel sheet, and every 4 months, do the calculation. Every 4 months, I'd set another round of marketing to the same group, but I'd add new people along the way. So it's the consistent sending of media to your target seller.
All right, so open up for any more questions. Anybody have any more questions for Fred? I think it's been excellent so far to sharing his story and then also giving some tips. Angel, you have something?
I'm just trying to survive right now. We were terminated by our property management company. So.
Oh, I just told Aaron, same thing. Mine moved north, and they said 6 weeks they're gonna, they're out of the region, so they were canceling that contract. So now I'm trying to figure out how to make sure payments, because this is through a retirement account, so it's a little more complicated. So now I still need a way to distribute cash to one entity and have them split it up between retirement accounts. So it's I can't do it. so now I got to figure it out.
Yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm losing my mind because my husband, who usually he's my helper, we're a team, and he and my oldest are at Philmont in New Mexico with no internet access, no cell phone access, nothing.
Wow. Yep, sounds like the real estate game. It's just all over. Everything that can go wrong will go wrong.
Absolutely. 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 Yeah, you're definitely right about that.
I wish I had better hints for you because it sounds like I've been doing it for just, I don't know, a few more days. We got our phone call on the 11th that said that the company would be dissolving in 2 weeks.
Oh, 2 weeks. Wow. Wow. Yeah, he gave me 6 and I have 2 properties under him. So pretty much 4 units. So I gotta sort that out. I'm sure you have more.
Well, it's not, it has nothing to do with that. It's one property that they manage, but it's more like assuring the staff that we want them, we want to keep them, and making sure they don't try. Like one guy already interviewed somebody else, and I was like, dude, I told you. He's like, well, my experience from the military is.
Hey,
And I was like, I know, trust them with your life, but never with your wife.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
I've heard. But he just, well, I guess until you've been through it, like I can sit there and tell him all day long that you're still going to have a job with us. And until I show him that he's still going to have a job with us, he doesn't have any reason to trust me.
Yeah.
I understand that.
So, yep, fun stuff.
Always fun.
Always.
But I did hear one tip that Amy Tiemann gave it to me. She said, don't ever let them set up a trust account again. And so that means like all of the operational money is in an account I can view, but I can't move anything out of it. And there's like $140,000 in it. And that to create a new account, Jason has to sign also. And I'm like, there's got to be a way around this. I sat in the branch manager's office for 2 hours yesterday. So like, there has to be a way around this. If Jason was on life support or in a coma, you're telling me that the account would just be locked down because he can't sign? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's a business account. So.
And what was their answer?
He said, let me go find one more set of eyes. The cool thing is that
Hey, I like that.
yeah, but so the cool thing is like, I looked at his last name. I'm like, man, that's a really unique last name. Well, his mother was the attendance clerk at Anson School when he was at Jefferson. And after we made that connection, he was like, you know what, let me go see if I can get one more person to look at this. But
yeah,
we bank with Chase, and evidently they get one regional relationship manager, like for an area. And like the branch manager couldn't see her schedule. He couldn't set anything on her schedule. She's like kind of autonomous, I guess. And because our account is a syndicated account and it has various levels of ownership for each member of it, she is the only person that can take care of that account. And she's on vacation till Friday.
wow.
I mean, it's like it just gets better and better and better.
Wow. How many days does that give you? Come Monday, how many days do you have left?
We're supposed to take care of everything on the 22nd. Tomorrow's the 22nd.
Oh.
But she's supposed to be back tomorrow.
Okay.
The keyword is oh. We're gonna hit you back in a minute about that one, Angel. Lisa, you have a question, ma'am?
Yes, hello, Erin, and thanks again for hosting this. Hello, everyone. Fred, thank you for sharing your journey. Question, when negotiating, any negotiating tips that you would like to share regarding, say, the seller has set a price for property and you want to negotiate that price when you know it's like over the value? Any negotiating tips, basically?
Yeah. I know with me, it was always kind of based off of what I expected from a work scope. So I always walked through, but I had my contractor walk through as well. So I was able to take that and kind of put it back within the discussion. Say, okay, this is what we're planning on doing. Is this what? Well, actually, I wouldn't explain the process itself, but I'd say, we have the roof work, we have, the driveway, like all this is, you're moving the risk to me, right? It's not just that I'm buying it for cheap. Like I'm taking all of this and I'm going to execute this statement of work, and this is what I'm taking as the cost to get there, right? So it's not just that I'm lowballing for the sake of lowballing. If I'm doing the roof, the landscaping, the water in the basement, interior, I had to clean out 7 dumpsters worth of stuff in the house. I had to paint the exterior, prime the exterior, like all that costs money, and it's not, I'm not doing charity work. So this is the cost to move the risk to me. So I always took that approach. And it was, I'd say all the conversations I had were with, I'm lucky enough to have had it with really good people. Like I said, my first deal, there were 8 siblings, right? The older brother took over and kind of walked through and had everyone sign it, but I walked through the house with two of the other siblings, and they know, right? So they know that they weren't taking care of the property. Their parents had passed 5 years earlier, and they come there every now and then just to make sure it hasn't burned down. So they understood the scope of it, and when I gave them the offer, I told them the down payment would be divisible by 8, because I know, they didn't have to do any additional work to make sure that everyone got their cut. So, I just kind of listened to what they were saying. I was trying to make it as easy as possible for the deal to work for them.
So follow-up
scope of work.
question. Yeah, scope of work and doing your due diligence, great. So the follow-up question I would have, what if all the properties, because it's a portfolio, is a mix, right? All the properties are currently rented.
Well, I've gotten that. So the 3-family I had it, the tenants were in there. I didn't give them a full lease. I gave them a month-to-month lease when I took over, just to kind of feel them out. And eventually one tenant left, and I renovated that unit. Then the next tenant left, I renovated that unit. Now I still have an inherited tenant on the 3rd floor, and she is okay. I'm waiting for the right time. Like I think for the most part, she's been an okay tenant.
Okay, let me go here.
stellar.
Yeah, maybe I didn't phrase that right correctly. No, in the negotiating process with the seller.
Oh,
I apologize.
No problem. Do you want the tenants or not?
I haven't met the tenants yet. I spoke to the gentleman that wants to sell, and one of the things he was like, can you get pre-approved first? He wants to work with me. He wants to offload everything. Every property he has is cash flowing. Most of the tenants been there 5 years or more. I think the shortest tenant is 2 years. And he said, good, regular maintenance on the property. I know the guy, I'm pretty close to him and everything, knows where his property is at. And I had been looking at a couple of properties and didn't realize, found out later it was his property that I kept saying, I like that house. I like that property. Yeah, so that's where we're at.
So depending on your loan and the size of the property, there might be occupancy requirements. So, potentially having tenants could be a good thing. You just have to make sure you actually see the leases. That's key. See the leases, see what's in there. I'd interview the tenants.
Well, that's one of the things he that's where we're at. We're in the negotiating process now, and I'm like, when can I see the property? And it's like, well, I don't really want to scare the tenants. We have the same bank, and my commercial loan officer, we're trying to work everything together. So it's just, I don't know.
Well,
This is the first time I've experienced this.
Because I didn't end up buying the property, but I had a similar issue where the landlord was down in Florida, and she didn't want to spook the tenants. I know some of the things I didn't go through, but some of the things that I've gotten is an inspection, a normal inspection, whether it's an appraisal, not a refinance or something, and someone needed to walk through for one reason or the other, and at least gives the opportunity to walk through the property without spooking the tenant, and it's just a normal inspection, or maybe everything's contingent on the state of the units you could put it after that, so you agree to this price, but anything's subject to change.
Right.
Based off of the terms in the contract, right? So you put whatever your concerns are, you translate that into legalese and put it in the contract. But yeah, if you haven't seen the unit, so there's an element of risk, either you reduce the price because of that risk, or you
I
leave
like
it
that.
open to be able to negotiate later on.
Yeah. Okay, that's good points, I think. Thank you for that.
Not a problem.
Any more questions for Fred?
My kids are hollering in the background. The dog is barking. It's really loud here, but can you do desktop valuations instead of appraisals? Because we did desktop evaluations for a small portfolio that we bought. They didn't even go out to the properties. And it was like that thick instead of that thick.
Well, I think what I've never tried that, but I think she just wants to see the units. So I said appraisal, but it's probably just a method of being able to walk the units to make sure you aren't getting something crazy. If you want to do it early on, there's always room to get in afterwards. But I haven't tried a desktop valuation, but
I'm writing that one down too.
yeah.
For us, it was a commercial loan because you can do a commercial loan on even a single. And I know that if you're using like VA benefits or something, that's a little bit different.
No,
But I think
no,
you can
I'm
just
not
ask
using-
for a desktop valuation.
Okay.
It's just that like if you don't know what you don't know, right? So if you don't know, you don't ask for it.
Now, what did they do for a desktop valuation?
I swear to you, they like looked up a picture on Google and they they looked at like rent rolls and maybe a T12, maybe.
Okay.
And possibly a profit and loss, but I don't think they did. I think they looked at tax valuations on the tax rolls. And I think that was it.
So you're talking apartments. I'm talking mixed. And I apologize if I'm not clear on it.
Now, I'm talking about 2 single family homes.
Yeah. Okay. Because that's what I'm looking at. Single family homes.
Ours
and
was 2 single family homes. We bought them for about $55,000 a piece.
So the properties I'm looking at is a mix of single family, multifamily. What is it? What's 2? Gosh.
A residential multi and a duplex, triplex, and quad.
And then also retail is all in industrial is included. It's really mixed.
Mixed use, yeah.
And then when you mentioned about the 2 miles radius, and out mines, these properties about 1 mile. It's like downtown, nice area. Yeah.
Wow. So do you have a plan for the spaces?
Yes. Definitely 2 of them. I could see it now. Yeah, because I first approached the gentleman because he has an industrial building that's like right where I needed a building to be. And then that's when he mentioned, hey, if you want more, I got other stuff I want to offload, and he's willing to work with me. And I've already sent preliminaries. My bank has sent stuff out already. So we're talking, and she just asked me today if you're comfortable to start the negotiation. Go. That's why I asked. I'm like, okay, because we're looking at these, like one building, he wants like 90,000, and the value where according to the city value amount is like half of that.
And you could bring all that information to them. I would definitely, if you can find those comps, you bring them to the conversation. So these are the nearest properties that have sold within, quarter of a mile of this property. The features are about the same. Do you think this is a fair comp? And see what his response is.
Okay.
Just, if you have the data, share it. Like, I think that helps with that full transparency, helps the conversation. Say, I'm not trying to lowball you. This is what the market says it's worth. And, if I'm taking on any additional risk, then that's why I'm reducing it. But, it shouldn't be above what this is. This property I just sold nearby. It shouldn't be above that because that's what the market says it'll pay.
A new trick I learned about too, like in the, I guess it was like last week, is you can
Okay.
call the tax appraisal district and they will literally tell you, they share it, they don't care. And they're supposed to be within 5%. And they will, so long as you're in a disclosure state, they will tell you everything you want to know. You can say, what's the valuation on the building? They will tell you what the market is. They will give you comps. We had never protested before. And we went, my husband and I, we protested before he left. And we found out that they said there was 3 different classes of home. They're either in average, good, and I forget what the other, maybe fair, average, and good condition. Because they said we were so laughing about it. They were like, well, no, your home is worth this much money and it's in good condition. I was like, I literally follow my special needs son around the house with a little container of spackle that when he pokes a hole in the wall, I fill the hole with my hands. I don't even use a trowel. I was like, we got 4 kids. You really think our house is in good condition? But that was where we learned that they do like a comp grid. And so there was like this grid of 4 or 5 properties that they considered to be comparable on our street. And that was how they came up with the value. And they do the same thing for commercial properties.
Okay, thank you for that.
I just learned that one. That one's cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. Well, I appreciate the share, what you all shared, because I'm not trying to let this go.
Yeah, and you'd have multiple points. I'd say it can't hurt to also ask an agent. Like if you know, there's so many agents out there. I'd try to get 3 different data points just to triangulate a number that makes sense. And it helps you to have that conversation. The more you get different perspectives on the same property, you go in more confident because you have that information. So ask an agent, hey, what would this property go for in this area?
Is CoStar just for commercial?
That I know of. That's the only time I look
so
at it.
you could ask someone to pull a CoStar report for you, and it'll tell you what it last sold for and the year and who the owner is.
Yeah, I have all of that because it's accessible. It's public record through the tax assessor. And then what I do when I find a property, I'll go to the tax assessor office and then I go pull the deeds. I always do that.
I don't know. CoStar seemed to have like more insider information. Like I had never seen one before, and I asked somebody if they'd give me the one they had, and they just sent it to me. And I was blown. It had first names, last names, phone numbers. It had everything.
Yeah, and I know the gentleman because we do a lot of community services stuff together. So been known him for about 10 years.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. So we have a really good relationship.
Financing.
Yeah, so I put all of that in there. I put that down as well. But I think he's really ready to let go of everything. He just went through a divorce. And like the building I called about, he mentioned that, yeah, I was gonna rent it out, where I still can rent it out. The guy's waiting for me to do the contract for it. I just didn't get called him back, and I'm like, okay. So you can tell he's tired and really want to let go. So yeah, that part.
Yeah.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Angela. Angela, are you in Wichita Falls? Angel? Really?
Yep, that's where I am.
Okay, I definitely need to get in touch with you. I'll come down there every now and then and look at property.
Yes, and I know a lot of people here.
Okay, that is good to know.
And we actually, like, I don't know how far away you are, but we have a monthly meeting. Like it's a impact something or other. It's just a little meeting. You've been to
Lawton?
it?
Yeah.
No, not in Lawton, the one in Wichita Falls.
No, I'm telling you, that's where I'm located.
Oh, you're not even an hour away?
45 minutes.
Yeah, we were up there. We looked at Buffalo Springs and Fox Valley.
Yeah, and I came out and looked at Chester.
Oh, you looked at Chesterfield Place. Yeah, 40. My friends did the electrical work on that. They replaced the Federal Pacifics, and then they pigtailed copper at the plugs and the switches, so it didn't run full copper in the wires, full copper in the walls, just at the plugs and the switches.
Okay. Well,
They
I'll
did
put my
replace the stabs.
link in or contact in the chat right quick before Aaron kicks us off.
Well, and
Yeah.
Aaron has all my contact info too. So if we get kicked out, he'll give it to you.
Absolutely. Does anybody have any questions for Fred? Are you looking for that? Marcus or Harford, Brendan?
I have another one.
Go ahead.
Can you share like how you deal or how you learned to deal with like stressful situations in the military? Because I am about to lose my freaking mind right now. I am so stressed out.
I think
Ooh.
it's I think it's one of those things where, oh, sorry, were you saying something?
No.
I think it's the same as the more you're exposed to it. I think it's like pain. Like the more you're exposed to pain, the less you feel it, right? So you just develop a tolerance over time, and I think that's what happens. Same thing with real estate. Everything is scary, and then you do that first project, and all of a sudden the next one is like, oh wait, this doesn't have to work out. It just has to work out in the end. Like so you work through the process, and all of a sudden those issues that seem to take things off the rails are just speed bumps. So I think one day you'll look back at this whole property management thing and it'll be like, oh, you know what? I'm going to put this in place so that the trust doesn't do this. If a property management leaves, I know that it will force you to say, go back, I'm going to look and have that backup, because you get comfortable over time. You can play the same thing. Like, at some point you're like, oh, I get it. And then you don't do the things you did when you started. You're not quite, there's not the same amount of hunger and kind of investigation because you've seen it. I think that's why, probably why investors continue to push and grow, because some of that stuff probably starts to get old, right? So they probably like, oh, you know what? I can double this effort somewhere else. And now the fear, that fear element you kind of used to operating in, now you're back there, and you can the risk presents a higher reward. So I think with everything now, I think it's time.
Yeah. No, but all of my military friends that are doing real estate, they make it seem like it's effortless. They just do. And I need some of that magic.
Lisa, did you have I think you were going to chime in. You have some insights on your military and kind of translating that.
No, I think I'm gonna let it stay in retirement. Maybe Aaron does. So are you active duty?
Oh no, I'm out.
No,
right
I
now.
was
Oh.
Angela.
I'm not military at all. I grew up next to Fort Hood.
Okay.
And now we live here and it's an Air Force base, but we're not military. My husband's a chemical engineer. Well, he no longer has a W-2. That's how he's able to go for, I don't even know, 1 million days out to this place that's 100% primitive, pack in, pack out, like unable to get in touch with him at all. It's horrendous. But he's just consulting now, and then he does all of our underwriting.
Okay, so your question is how to.
There is something about military people. So I teach for Wayland. I teach economics, and I could give my students 300 pages to read a night and they would just do it. And I can always tell who's an officer. I can tell who's been in combat. I can tell those things because of how they get their work done. And I'm seeing the exact same thing in real estate. Like military people, like they just set a goal and they just do it. It's like an objective. It's like, oh, there's my objective. I'm just going to do it no matter what happens. Like a friend of mine, he left his whole company and started a whole brand new company, and he just did it. And I'm like, there's got to be something that you're taught, or I don't know, it's something. And like the guys over at ADPI, I mean, like they're all successful, they're all military, and that's active. I guess they're all active duty, or they they've at least been in the military because it's active duty passive income. And then you got like David Perret, who has military to millionaire. You got Brian Briscoe,
Yeah.
who just retired from the Marines, or I guess he's separated because he can have facial hair and stuff. But you've got all these people that are just doing amazing things. And I want to know how they get through the stressful stuff, because I don't deal well with it. I used to think I did, but I am fully and 100%. I understand now that I do not.
So I would say this, and I think Mr. Fred, he touched on it a little bit earlier about the consistency, being dedicated. This is what I was picking up. And, just going after what you want. And if, we hear a lot, remembering your why. What is your goal? Who you have to. So I was a single parent in the military, right quick. And as of today, still is. My son is 31 years old. And I always put him first before me, right? And no matter what, I know I had to make things happen as a single parent. So I stayed focused on that. And a lot of, the military did enhance some of my areas, but I learned a lot of that from my family growing up, because I had to make my aunt, who raised me, my parent, my mom was murdered when I was at 7 years old. My dad, I don't know who he is. So I'll share that right quick. But one thing I know is I always grew up knowing, hey, I got to make things happen. Whether somebody is doing it or not, I need to stay focused, on what I want in the end for myself and for my son, because I wanted him to experience life that I didn't. And, and that's what you got to remember. What is your why? Because in the end, the people that's trying to make you stressful environments, in the end, they're not going to be the ones to take care of you or your family, right? So that's where I would say stay focused on that, stay consistent, and say, hey, I hear you, but I'm not listening. Don't march in place. I tell people sometimes we are moving, but we're marching in place, but not moving forward. I think that's me. That's my thought on that, so that's what my focus is. And to this day, because everything I do in real estate, everything I do is to show my son it can be done. And, a lot of times there are challenges and obstacles, but you have to stay focused on that, because I have already built some legacy for my son, where in my family, there wasn't no one to build that legacy for me. And we're the first in our family to make that happen, to go to college and do a few other things. And that's it. So I just want to stay focused, consistent.
Hey, Fred Angel, that sounds like a meetup guest to me. You know what I'm saying? That story she just put, that sounds like a meetup guest to me right there.
What?
No, that was
dropping gems like that.
yeah, that was really good, actually.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate it, but and I'm glad I'm able to connect with individuals like you all, because that keeps me motivated, right? Going after what you want, you got to connect with like-minded people like you all. So, and I appreciate it, because y'all all share some stuff that I can use. I was taking notes on one phone, taking notes on another phone.
Yeah, well, what you said really helped me, because it's like, when I'm out there, I've been out there because we had a hoarder unit. It was disgusting. I've never seen anything like that. And I hired a guy to come do it. And he called me today and he was like, so I think I underestimated. I don't think I can do this for 300. Do you think you can pay me 5? And I'm like, I don't have a problem with it, but I got to talk to the rest of the team. And I just let him know that the stuff that he thought he was going to resell, mice had destroyed it. The neighbor across the way had caught 38 mice. It was truly disgusting. And then we lost our management company, and I'm just like, as those things are happening to me, I feel like a victim, instead of thinking about, wait a second, why am I doing all this? Why is this stuff important to me?
Yeah, and they need you. You're not in a path for no reason, and I had to tell one of my friends, he's an agent at the Pentagon, and he will whine. And sometimes makes me wonder, but he's ex-military, but I tell him, he'll say, why are they sending me to this meeting? I say, think about it. It's always not about you. It might be somebody that's coming in your path that you need to share with. Because a lot of times I've been in a lot of meetings. I just retired from the DOD in November. And I tell you, 99% of the time, I was the only female at the table in the field artillery environment. So stay focused. You got this. And just remember, you are there for a reason and they need you.
Wow. Thank you.
You're welcome.
See?
I'm sorry, I can't hold up the.
See, Angel, you needed something like this. You know what I'm saying? Came to the meetup and look at you. That's
Well, I
why-
haven't been to anything because I'm literally surviving on like vodka, wine, and tears.
Oh, yeah, no. I'm talking about the inspiration you're getting right now from this.
I know, but I'm saying like I haven't been going to anything, and I was like, you know what, I need to go to something. And your
Yeah.
thing was tonight, and I was like, thank you, God.
That's awesome.
And thank you for sharing, with us, because a lot of people wouldn't share that. So what you shared, especially what you just shared, so we
No, it's-
appreciate you sharing and giving us opportunity to respond to you.
Well, I had gone to something else at like 5. I went to something with another friend, and I heard someone saying that this was easy, and I was like, I can't even listen to this anymore. I literally had to leave the Zoom because I just couldn't. I was like, I have to leave now. And so I just left, and I didn't tell the person that was hosting why I left or anything. I just left.
Feel you on that.
Yeah, no, it's far from easy. So it's always good for everyone to get that perspective of what could go wrong, right?
Well,
So
and
it's-
whether it's residential or commercial, it's all hard
yeah.
because we've been in residential for 20 years. My husband and I both grew up in families that invested in residential real estate. I mean, this is all we know. And it doesn't matter if it's single families or multifamily, it's tough.
Yeah.
Now, I will say, like what you said, Fred, like single family is so much easier to me now. Like I can just do singles. If a single falls in my lap and Jason, like if Jason were still gone and a single fell in my lap and it was $50,000, I would just do it.
Yeah.
But that's because we've been doing it for 20 years.
Mhm. And you know more, right? So it's not just that you can do
Right.
it, you know that other people, if there's value in it, you could sell it, you can sell the contract, right? So there's so many different ways because you've been exposed to those avenues. You can say, I'll take it on, and it's not much risk. You kind of you peeled away all the risks, so now you just know it's a deal, and if you know it's a deal, then someone else knows it's a deal. So even if it doesn't work for you, it works for someone else, and I think that's that life experience that allows you to continue to grow, and why things hurt less over time, right? So it's the same activity, but you just have more information.
Well, with all that said, we will end the meetup right then and there. I love the gems that were dropped today. I hope it inspired my friend right there. I hate when my friend is trusting like that. I hope this helps her out. Just want to say thank you, Fred, man. It's been awesome.
Yes, thank you.
And man, thank you for us getting together, man, and for the clubhouse room and everything in this great meetup today, man. So I just want to say thank you. We'll be here next week. God bless you. And I'm not getting off right now, guys, but God bless you, and see you next week.
Thank you, Fred.
Thanks, Aaron.
Okay,
Thanks for
thank
having me.